Welcome to the AirCon Vault. Here, you can find recordings of the live streams from AirWiggle's audio conference. These are made free, thanks to our sponsors. A sound effect, Aftertouch Audio, Boom Library, Fmod, Game Audio Learning, Game SoundCon, Kilohertz, Rev Rooms, Sound Cuts, Strata from Audio Kinetic, and AirWiggle, the online home for audio people. We hope you enjoy the video.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you are based. Thank you so much for coming and joining our talk about composing for tabletop games. Again, apologies if I'm talking in a really weird manner because I can hear double of myself. We had to kind of do a Frankenstein thing with the presentation. So I'm actually in Safari here, but I'm presenting on Chrome. So huge apologies, but heads up if I'm a bit slower at talking. Yeah.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great, Jade.
All right. Okay. It's just really weird. It's that I can hear myself, but also I can't. Okay. So let's just start the presentation then. So hopefully this works. Yes.
Can
Okay.
everyone see the presentation? Just double checking.
Yeah, should be okay. I think everyone should be okay. If they can't see, they probably would have mentioned it
Okay.
by now.
Oh yeah, that's true. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So this is our contents for the presentation. We'll do a bit of an intro, then we'll do basics, and then we'll do a little bit of a deep dive. Then we will do Q&A at the end. So yes. Oh, and if you have any questions or comments after this talk, feel free to ping myself or Jolene on our socials. You can see it like there on the top left. I don't know where I am on the screen, but it's over there. Awesome. Okay. So I'll start off with some introductions. So hello, my name's Jade Leamcharaskul. I'm a multimedia hybrid games composer. I specialize in mostly East and South, East Asian ethnic music. So I'm actually a proficient gamelan player for like many years and Japanese taiko drumming for like also like 10 plus years, something ridiculous like so I used to combine all of that with orchestral stuff, but I also have a background in electronic music because I did a music tech degree. Yeah, the works I've done is from Dragonfin Suit back in 2015. That's a long time ago. But
Wow.
yeah, I've been around in the industry for a little while. But the last few games I worked on is Tales of Kenzerazal, which was released last year, and then Assassin's Creed Shadows, where I did a bit
Woo!
of consultation work. Oh, thank you. It
That is
was
fantastic.
literally, yeah, it was literally like a, hey, I need some input about traditional Japanese music. What you got? And I just sent the composers like a long list of people and a few pointers about that. Yeah, I'm a Game Dev Hero Sound Award winner back in 2020, and I think Lewis and Greg, you're both up for it for this year, right? But anyway, good luck with that. And I've been a juror for the BAFTA Games Award for Music, Audio Achievement, and the Ivor Novello Award and Dice Awards a few times. And this is where Jolene and I met.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's where everything came together. Outside of game audio, I do a lot of events. So I'm also part of POC and Play, and I'm a mentor at Limit Break Mentorship. Yeah, cool.
Woo!
That's me. Thank you.
Fellow Southeast Asian composer. Let's go.
Yeah, rep. Rep it. Okay, over
All
to you,
right.
Julie.
Okay. Hi everyone. I am a games and film composer, orchestrator, and pianist. Currently not in London, but will be back in London soon.
Come
So I miss London. I miss all my friends. I miss you guys. I miss you. I had a lot of fun in London. I studied there at the Royal College of Music. It was the same year as Billy, who is also in the chat. Say hi. I'm just saying hi.
back.
So after graduating, I started working for Hyrule D&D, Nomnivore Games, and these are like tabletop podcasts slash companies, things like that, and been working on films and games. And last year, one of the tracks that I wrote for Hyrule have won the Best Instrumental of the Year by musician in the tabletop RPG space, the Crit Awards. And last 2 years ago, I conducted for the Queen Charlotte Orchestra Netflix event, and now currently I'm co-hosting with a bunch of my friends at Composers in the Jukebox, where we interview composers and people in the music industry about their craft. And yeah, was in the Iron Novello Award juror with Jade, and that's where I met Jade. So, ta-da!
Yeah, it was really funny because we don't know who the jurors are until we all come together. And I remember looking at Jolene and Jolene's name, just like, I think we come from the same area of the world. And when we
It's the
messaged you,
surname. It's the surname. It's the surname. I'm sorry. It's the surname.
yeah, no, but that was really, really funny. But yes, a chance meeting, and now we're like super good friends and doing this presentation together. So
And
yeah,
foodies. We are super good foodies.
foodies,
Just putting
yes,
there.
yes, absolutely. We like to eat good things. Right, onwards. So yeah, this is a timeline. I don't know if you want to add in anything more, Jolene, because this is your journey with how you got to your point in composing for tabletop games, right?
Yeah, it was a very funny story. I just wanted to like mention how it kind of came to be, because I never thought of composing for tabletop games or, anything tabletop related at all. I didn't know what Dungeons and Dragons were back then. Like seriously, I was just trying to get work, and there was like this work application on Reddit, which unfortunately I didn't get it, but it was a very beautiful beginning of me meeting the CEO of Nomnivore Games, which is a lovely tabletop company that makes like that puts accessibility as a priority, and they make very lovely games for children and adults. And Derek, who actually saw my profile, was basically like, hey, do you want to like try tabletop games? I know it's not your thing. And I said yes. So after that, I kind of built up a lot of projects through his word of mouth. I started composing for a few tabletop podcasts and ended up like getting to know a few people from the very lovely community and industry, which also led me to Hyrule D&D and composing for them right now as we're speaking. Yeah. So that's how it kind of came to be.
That's fantastic. So basically networking and just shooting for the stars essentially
Yeah,
will
shoot.
get you at least somewhere.
Exactly. You just don't know where it will go to. Just try everything and, shoot your shot. It's always very difficult out there, but hey, you might end up with pretty cool projects. You never
Nice.
know.
Yeah, no, exactly. So we can like dip into like the portfolio aspect a little bit later in this talk because I see that some new people just joined. So don't worry, we will cover that bit if you've missed the beginning of the chat. Okay, right, onwards. Oh, wrong window. Okay. Yes, that was okay. So I when I curated this talk, I was like, okay, let's like get through all the basics really, really quickly. So first
Yeah.
off, Jolene, what is D&D?
So D&D or Dungeons and Dragons is basically like a tabletop board game where you and your friends kind of gather together and go on adventures. So basically you have like a dungeon master who actually hosts the games and play or create scenarios or like quests that you as a player will go along. So you can be anything you want. You can be a human fighter, which is pretty common. I'm gonna get the comments saying that that's kind of basic anyways, or else, or anything you want. At the moment I'm playing tabaxi sorcerer, stuff like that. Tabaxi is basically bipedal cat person. Anyways,
Wow.
so Yeah, that does not say anything about me. I'm just putting it out there. Um,
So this is where all the role playing will come in. Like you can literally be
yes.
anything you like or
You
want.
can be anything you want within the context of the rules and dice rolling, and the game master has to like sort of guide you through the quests. Um,
Hmm.
the game master basically, or the dungeon master basically, kind of like controls the NPC, non-playable characters, and you guys kind of just go along the adventure and maybe like try to save the princess or try to steal something. You never know. Like there's so many sort of Dungeons and Dragons or tabletop games that you can play. So
Nice.
the world is your oyster, really. This one is just tabletop games is just fun, and there's a lot of things that you can do.
No, that's really fantastic. Right, I don't have my notes up with me, so I'm gonna have a peek on the next one. Next slide.
Yeah,
Yes. So D&D is mostly tabletop games, so not quite it's still under the game dev umbrella, but obviously
yeah.
not in the digital space. But you are still dealing with probability and chaotic characters or rather chaotic players, I guess.
Oh, you
So
have to
yeah.
have the chaos in this soup of Dungeons and Dragons. That's where the fun begins. I mean, people who play in the chat could agree, like sometimes having chaotic players or game or like characters can always be a little bit spicy, but it's always good fun and moderation.
In moderation, yes. I feel sorry for the dungeon master, whoever that is, just trying to like host and guide players to a certain point, and they're like, no, let's look at the pretty flower instead. But anyway, so yes, do you need to already play D&D before getting involved? You mentioned you didn't know what D&D was before getting involved.
No, unfortunately, no. I was like, I have not played D&D when I met Derek, and he was like trying to introduce me what tabletop game is, and I only actually started playing literally 2 years ago when I have like a nice group of friends to kind
Wow.
of like, hey, can we do this together? It would be great. I love to try it out. And I loved it ever since. I've been playing with my friends. I've been hosting games as well for composers. Because I really want to introduce this sort of game format to everyone. It's really fun. It's a good way to kind of like mingle around with your friends, and sometimes it's fun to kind of make believe your own character and create something, different. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, amazing. So it is accessible in a way of like, once you know what the scope of the game is, you could just jump in as long as they have a group of friends who have time to meet up and play, I guess.
Yeah. We always say the BBEG, the big bad boss of the game, the big bad evil boss is literally time scheduling, because we cancel games so many times just because people can't make it, and also it is a time commitment of at least 3 hours per session. I feel 3 hours is needed. You can play 2 hours, but it's more of a rush.
Got it. So, like with any multiplayer game that you're trying to organize with friends, it's still the same thing.
Exactly. Yep.
Awesome. So now we know what the scope of D&D is and how it works. What is the main difference between composing for D&D versus film and games? Now let's get into nitty-gritty, basically. Oh,
Oh,
have I frozen?
yeah. I'm looking at the I'm oh no, you're fine.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
You good, you good,
So
you
yeah,
good.
what is the main difference between composing for D&D versus films and games?
I would say at least from my experience working with non-linear games and high rollers D&D, I think the difference is when I'm given the brief, it's all based on what is happening in the game or what they sort of plan on happening, because there's so many things that are unpredictable. It's all on the dice gods. Like, you don't know if your character is gonna live or die, or are you gonna defeat a boss. Sometimes the tricky part is you don't know what's the next plot until something happens. So I think that the slight difference is I wouldn't know what is going to be coming up next until the guys at Hyrule tell me so. the unpredictability is somewhat different, but otherwise it's pretty similar composing for films and games. It's just you won't really have a script or you won't really have like a picture lock situation for you. It's more of like, hey, we're going to this city, so we kind of like need music for this city or battle music, whatever. It depends on what they're doing at that time.
So, do you work very closely with the DM in this
Oh
regard?
yeah.
Would you know like the overarching plot, for example?
So with omnivore games, yes, because I think Derek, he mentioned that he wants to cater the music to the plot lines, and I would know what's going on and what sort of character that they are planning to introduce in the new expansion, things like that. For High Rollers, I think Mark Sherlock Holmes was the DM. Basically, uh, he would actually ask me to like, hey, we're going to this city, blah blah blah, but I'm not really onto the plot actually. They're trying to
Right.
keep it secret as well because they also view me as like an enjoyer of High Rollers D&D, which I am. I'm a High Rollers D&D fan, of course. And they want me to like enjoy the process and the plot and things like that while composing for them. That's why it's kind of like tricky because they try not to spoil too much, but just a smidget. So I know things that people don't know and also don't know things that they know. So yeah.
Wow, so it can be both, a bit like games, I guess.
Yeah, it can
Yeah,
be. I think like in the end they just want a really good show and I'm here to provide what they need. So if I can do my best, well no, I would definitely do my best. If I can help them as much as I can, I will.
nice. Awesome. So, right. Composing opportunities in D&D, and what does that mean?
Hmm. What does that mean?
Yeah, because so going back to your career in writing music for tabletop games, you essentially applied for a Reddit post, did you say? Didn't get it, but
Yeah.
people like your work enough, so that was the opportunity. Is that something that people should do if they want to start dipping into D&D? They should just start applying for random Reddit posts? I don't know.
I mean, like Reddit is just a wild card. I would never thought of like Reddit giving me a job, but I mean, if there's a job opportunity, shoot for it. Like, never say no. But for D&D particularly, I think like being in the fandom or the community is always helpful, especially like when people are building their home game and they want something that's no, bespoke, something to call their own. That's where you can kind of come in and, just say, hey, I'm a composer. Why not I write something for your game? And things like that. And things like Fiverr, Upwork would always be helpful to kind of try to get you work in like D&D, films, games, whatever. But I would say people would try to look for work in either the community side of things or in websites like Fiverr. And it's always like it's like everything else when you're trying to apply for work in this sector. You need to keep trying, you need to keep pushing, you need to keep putting yourself out there, and people will listen to your music. They will, if they really like it, they will hire you. Like it's kind of this real tricky part of things. I think you would agree as well. Like trying to
Yeah.
apply for work is very tricky as a composer nowadays.
Yeah. So it's essentially like very similar to how you would apply and find work in films and games. It's just like, keep being active in the community, I guess, and seeing if anything pops up and just going for that.
Exactly, exactly. Especially like if you play Dungeons and Dragons yourself, you know what you need in that game. You know what
Right.
you're gonna
Yeah.
like encounter. Like there's so many different versions of Dungeons and Dragons. That means there's also so many different versions of music that could happen in your game. So that's if you know the game, it would really be helpful, is what I'm saying.
Mm. Yeah. So like if you're saying like you want to write music for games, but you absolutely don't play any games, it's gonna be a little bit tricky, I guess.
Exactly, exactly.
Got it. Yeah, we can always dip back into this topic near the end of the talk if
Yeah.
people want to like find out more about it and discuss it. But cool, let's move on. Yeah. So tailoring your portfolio, like My image of D&D is very like medieval fantasy, but is that the case? Like, how would you tailor your portfolio for that?
I would say not always. Sometimes, well, the typical version of like, yeah, medieval fantasy, you got the tavern stuff, you got the battle stuff, you got the adventure-y, sort of whimsical, depending on what you're playing. But there's so many different types of Dungeons and Dragon games. Like, I don't know if people know Curse of Strahd, or maybe things like the Witcher 3 tabletop games. Is it Witcher 3? I forgot what the actual name is. Basically, there's so many different kinds of tabletop games. Maybe if you have a particular genre that you really want to get yourself out there, you should maybe tailor it towards like, hey, I write medieval fantasy music for an adventure like you guys are having, blah blah blah. And then I use is Real Crafter and things like that, or websites, or giving scenarios of like you're venturing into the woods and it's creepy and things like that. Boom, your music comes out. Like giving a scenario is always cool. I kind of like to think in terms of story. If you give a story with your music, it becomes a pretty neat portfolio for people to kind of imagine, because D&D is all about imagination, and
Hmm.
having a cool background music while you're venturing or trying to solve a puzzle is always a great mood sort of bringer, a vibe. It gives a good vibe. Yeah.
That's awesome. But yeah, no, just to circle back as well, it does sound like with any like creative work where you need to put a portfolio, it's always a good idea to play towards your own strengths and what you actually enjoy writing or creating, rather
Yeah.
than, maybe doing a scattergun approach where you just do a little bit of everything and then you don't really find that particular joy when you do get a gig to write something where you're like, oh, I maybe okay. But
Exactly.
that's
I
really
mean,
good to
like,
hear.
just to jump on
Yeah.
that as well, if you
Mm.
actually like, if you have your own home game, you can try writing it for your own home game so that you know
Oh yeah.
what sort of vibe you're going for, what sort of vibe as a player would fit in this scenario. What would the player want? That's always a very good start when you're trying to tailor your portfolio.
Nice one. Let's continue. I'm just cautious of time.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so adapting music based on story changes. Now, this is where it's very kind of interactive game audio. How would you approach this scenario where maybe you don't have the story beats in mind, or yeah, maybe it's a little bit secretive from the DM, which is also quite similar in game music as well. Sometimes it's just like, this is a scenario, maybe just write something for it. But in this particular session of 4D&D, how would you approach this?
I would say at least, because it changes, the story changes depending on what the player wants. There's no fixed path, because you can literally do anything you want, and based on your dice rolls, whether you succeed or fail. So what I would always try to do is at least try different versions of the music. So
Hmm.
in particular, the recent track that I wrote, which will be probably revealed later, who knows? We had multiple versions in case where the players are gonna be stuck in a certain um, cavern trying to solve a puzzle, and that way I actually have to like write different versions of the music by just having a leitmotif and having like a different arrangement of it, and like having different versions of the music makes it a little bit easier.
Hmm.
uh Other than that, it's just playing around with themes and having a very good conversation with the DM, just saying like, hey, so what happens if this scenario were to appear? Like, this sort of conversation is always needed with the DM, because they are the one who kind of like guide the story, so they would be able to give you a few scenarios of what might happen, hence what sort of music you need. So it's
That
kind of
sounds
depending.
like a lot
Yeah.
of work.
It is. It is a lot of conversation, but it's very fun conversation to be had. Like that Discord channel with the guys at High Rollers. It's always fun. It's always memes. It's always music. It's always secret stuff, but it's always memes.
No, that sounds actually really nice to work with that team. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, they are
Um,
lovely people. They're so lovely people. I highly I'm just shouting out there. Check out Hyrule. They're lovely.
so from what I get from that, it's basically be adaptive with your composition.
Yep.
Have the themes like be adaptable for different scenarios or intensities, I would say. um and then also make it like slightly open-ended so that I can follow like, oh, the party failed in this scenario or they really succeeded, or maybe just a neutral kind of vibe, I guess. Is that a good way to approach it, to be
Yeah, I would
adaptable?
say it's a good way. Like thinking about plan
Mm.
A, B, C
Mm,
scenarios. Like I think like it's similar to video game music. Like this happens if the player does that sort of
yeah,
thing.
right.
And you ended up with like a lot of music. And there we go. Like 60 tracks per album. Let's go.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, vertical composition and horizontal, very similar in that way.
Or diagonal, who knows?
Oh,
This is
diagonal. Oh my
D&D.
gosh. Yes, that I'd never come across diagonal composition, but I'll need to think about that. That's gonna keep me up awake at night, kind of thing.
Oops.
It's all good. Right, going on. So now we're going into a deep dive and looking at Jolene's work, just to give a few examples. Also we get to listen to your music. So how cool is that?
Yeah. I hope you guys are ready for this. This was like one of my favorite tracks to write like in 2023 when Altheya the Dragon Empire was announced. The guys at High Rollers were like, "Hey, we got this new campaign. Do you want to write a theme song?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're writing a theme song." And we ended up having it recorded, which was the best thing ever. Just a casual
Wow.
mention. Like, I think it's a good advice just to like casually mention to your directors, game designers, or your DMs, like, hey, what if we record this? And if there's a budget, you can always record it. And I think it was worth it. They loved it. I think the video had like a lot of lovely likes and comments, very lovely comments, from everyone who listened to, which really touched my heart. It's amazing. The community
Oh,
is amazing.
the video looks really awesome, and we will have a bit of a sneak peek
Yeah,
if there's. Oh yeah, so yeah, the composing process. Um, yeah,
but
do you
we'll
want to
talk
like dip
about it.
into that
Yeah,
a
we'll
little bit?
just play a little bit and then I'll dip into
We'll
that
come back.
immediately.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome. Let's do that.
that's
So I
okay.
pray that this works. Okay.
There we go. Let's go.
Can folks hear it? I hope so.
Thanks for listening,
Wow.
everyone. I hope you guys
Yes.
liked it. It was fun. It was a fun piece to compose, arrange, orchestrate. It was like lovely that the team was like, "Hey, why not we actually record this? Because it's gonna be a very long campaign." Well, I'm not sure how long, but the last campaign lasted 5 years, so who knows?
Oh my gosh, 5 years. Oh, wow. No, that was a real joy to listen to because as a composer to another composer, just like, oh, it just peaks and ebbs and flows really nicely. There wasn't like a single boring moment. If you know what I mean by like some soundtracks, they just seem to go on a little bit too long, but no, it actually felt really exciting to listen to. And I like that you use like the full orchestra, like oh yeah, here's a bit of a taste, and then like horns, winds. You had the choir. Yeah, no, that was really, really, really super nice.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, everyone is really loving it in chat.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm looking
yeah,
at
yeah.
it. Someone did mention How to Train Your Dragon. It was kind of like an inspiration from How to Train Your Dragon, Studio Ghibli's whimsical sort of feel, and the John Williams orchestration sort of thing that we're going on over there. Like, yeah, because it was Altheya, the Dragon Empire, it has to be the dragon feel. So we have a dragon feel.
Um, so just double checking, yeah, loads of questions. So we will do Q&A at the end, but please do type any questions into the live Q&A and we can address it at the end. But
Yes.
yeah, so over to you, Jolene. You wanted to do a little bit of a deep dive with your main themes and leitmotifs. So just tell me
Yeah.
which one to play and then I'll play it.
Okay, so we can start the main theme. So you just play that one for now.
Sure. Um,
Is it playing?
I did press. Oh,
There we go. So that's the beginning of the music. It's kind of like, hey, come here, there's something you want to see, that sort of vibe. So that was like the beginning of the piece to kind of draw in people, which kind of like evolves into the next main theme where you hear in sort of the C section of the music, on the right, the bottom corner. If you could click on that one, Jade.
right,
Sorry.
Boston corner. Yeah.
Yeah. Which evolves into this, basically. So it's more of like a very, like, sorry, I forgot to mention Lord of the Rings, sort of like adventure style where you're gonna go on into the great Ilnera, that's the region Mark made, into the adventure, and it feels open-ended because it is, we have no idea what's gonna happen because you don't know
Mm,
what's gonna happen, um based on dice rolls, based on character development, things like that. So when I wrote this theme, it was about a minute long, a minute and a half, because it was just the main title of things. But when I mentioned about the orchestration, like we can orchestrate it, we can, ship it off to an orchestra, the Budapest Scoring Orchestra, yes. It was recorded at the Budapest Scoring Orchestra. Before we were doing that, I was suggesting to them, why not we lengthen it a little bit more? Because be worth it if we record a 3 minute long piece. So that's what I did, and it evolved to me writing more leitmotifs. So what I also do in Altheya, the Dragon Empire's main theme, is to sprinkle in some leitmotifs here and there, which will eventually evolve into future themes in the game. So I'm kind of like hinting on something that I could
mm,
use later. So that's kind of like what I was thinking before, because I have no idea where Imera is, what's gonna be the culture, what's gonna be the the tradition and things like that. So I had to kind of like figure out what would Ilmera sounds like, what would Althea look like. So I kind of had to like create scenarios of like, hey, why not we have leitmotif number one, for example.
yep.
Um,
Do you want me to
yeah,
play it?
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
That sort of vibe, like that sort of like motif, which will sprinkle throughout the future of this campaign. It will come out eventually. We do not know when, but it is the identity of the piece. And then we got leitmotif number 2, which is more of like a fairy light, more of like, because I know there's a snowy region.
Ah,
Yeah.
all right, let's have a quick listen.
So more of like a very whimsy, sort of like bouncy, sort of melodic line. Yeah, I wrote bums because the choir was singing bums. I'm not calling anyone a bum.
Oh, I just want to say your leitmotif one sounds very Star Warsy.
Sorry, it's a very, very what? Sorry?
It sounds like very like Star Wars.
Yeah.
The leitmotif one. The image of Star Wars just popped up when I played it just now. Just like, oh yeah. Um, so for those in who was watching the stream now who may not have a music background, what exactly is the leitmotif and how does it differ from just main theme?
So the main theme is gonna be like, the iconic presence of Altheya. This is Altheya, Dragon Empire. That's gonna be the main course, the main melodic line that will appear, which did appear in some of the soundtracks later on because it's kind of like it's like a brand. Like, yeah, this is Altheya Dragon Empire, and that's how I brand it within the music. The leitmotifs are more of like, it depends on the situation of where they are in the game, which region are they in, and the leitmotif kind of sort of give off like the theme of the next region, for example.
Mm,
But it only appears then and the main full theme, but it will not appear anywhere else. So that was what I was going for. I was pre-planning this, is what I'm saying. It took me a while to think about this because again, this is basing it on, I have no idea what's gonna happen in the game. I have
right.
no idea what sort of culture is being influenced in these regions. I was going off like, hey, what we can do it musically, what can we
Mm,
tell, how do we tell a story on something that is ever moving. So I was just planting some seeds, is within the music. Is Yeah.
yeah, you're getting your building blocks ready, your initial building blocks for the next chapter or the biome if you want to think about it like that.
Yeah, sort
Yeah.
of, yeah.
Yeah, trying to like bring it back into game dev somehow. Awesome. Right. So, all right, we'll have a mini game.
Yay,
So,
games. We love games, all of us. We are gamers.
yeah, because just talking with Jolene earlier when we were putting together this talk, it does lean heavily on like cinematic music and the language of cinema in a way. And you know when you hear certain particular bits in soundtracks, like, ah, yes, this is the adventurer, or like, ah, this is the villain, or if you hear like the whimsical things, like, oh, some magic's gonna happen. So, there is a point to this mini game. It's basically to show that we do or inherently have this language, even if we may not come from a music background. So it is possible for everyone to get into writing music for D&D. Isn't that right?
Yep, it is right. Especially like, Dungeons and Dragons being such a iconic IP. Again, in the chat, we would people saying like, there's so many different video game
Yeah,
IPs turned into tabletop games. There's always going to be a lot of opportunities for you to write for those games in different styles or genres.
absolutely. Sorry, I just had to emoji react to that because that is very true. Okay, so guess the
Mini gems.
narrative. Ooh. So if chat wants to quickly have a guess, we'll give like maybe like 10 seconds or so to quickly
Yeah.
type.
Sorry, I just realized I muted myself while we were playing. I'm just saying this is a completely 180 of the original main theme.
So we got a love it from Billy, a taste of action scene, space battle, fast space, sci-fi, assault boss. That's definitely making some toast.
Don't burn it. Well,
Yeah, intense battle, significant
yep,
boss.
yep. I think we can reveal it now.
Yeah, shall we? Is it revealed
Yeah.
in the next slide? Can't remember. Yes.
Yeah, it is the battle theme. This is
Well
actually one of the
done.
big bosses in Altheya the Dragon Empire. This is based on the Proto-Magi, which is a very ancient civilization that used to be in Altheya or Ilmera, but they are suddenly, somewhat here and not there. You kind of find their civilization in ruins. And the players were actually fighting one of the scary bosses, and to make it a little bit different from the fantasy like thing, we had to make it a little bit more electronic, a little bit more spacey, but it's actually not sort of situation. Think of it as Breath of the Wild, the Guardian sort of theme, where the very intense piano, um PTSD. Yeah, that.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. No, but I can definitely see just from the references as well. Like references are so much needed when it comes to composing or putting together a brief together for your composer because we need to start somewhere. Um, yeah, and I think you really hit the nail on the head there. It's definitely high octane, intense, anxiety inducing, arcane-y, crystally, but also a bit alien-y. But
Yep.
yeah, just a little snippet at the end are just like, oh, but it's still gluing the main theme back in there somehow. Even
Yeah,
if it's
if
just
you
with a similar sound palette, right?
it's just a little bit like the main theme is there. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're still in the world out there, but you're fighting an alien big bad boss that might kill you. Actually, they are trying to kill you. So there's
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
And you can also see within the reference that the team actually really loves Final Fantasy and Breath of the Wild Zelda stuff. So yeah.
yeah. Awesome. So we got another one. Let me
Yeah,
just
let's do
quickly
it.
get it loaded up. There we go. Let's bring you back from the PTSD.
PTSD, no more PTSD. This is chill. Another 180.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Let's do some guesses. You guys get 10 seconds. Romance
Romance.
from
Okay.
Greg. Some loving without the G.
Sweet dialogue section. Oh, yeah, it does sound very sweet.
It is a cutesy vibe, I must say.
Yeah. Village shop, village theme, lots of
Village
villagers.
theme. Village. Frolicking through the flowery meadows. I like that. Romance.
Yeah. Oh.
Cozy exploration game. I mean, everyone's quite close, actually. We can reveal it.
Da-da.
It's a cat cafe, so completely not from Hyrule D&D. This is actually from my home game, called Tales of Waterdeep. Tales as in Tails, because all of us decided to pick characters with tails. And it's part of my upcoming album where I'm actually compiling all of the music that I wrote for the campaign into like a nice album, just to just to have it. And yeah, it's actually campaign underscoring Studio Ghibli as whimsy, and like this is also a use of leitmotifs because I actually included some of our characters' leitmotifs within the music melodic lines. Not that, I mentioned it or we heard of the original, but it's just nice to say.
Yeah. Nice one. So well done everyone for
Woo!
participating. Like again, the language is already there inherent in all of us. We just need to write it out, I guess, compose it out of our brains.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, that was the point I wanted to bring home. It's that D&D or any other tabletop games does not always equal medieval fantasy. And Jolene, your work proved it. We're just like, oh yeah, it's like an alien-y, crystally, Breath of the Wild to just a cute cat cafe kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. So we did a little bit of research. We found like, okay, there's Pokemon D&D, there's Star Wars,
There's
vampires, cyberpunk.
Warhammer.
Yeah,
There's
so
Mass
many.
Effect. So I had to put Garrus literally trying to riz up Commander Shepard because it's gold. Get a man who looks at you, or a woman, or non-binary people to look at you like how Garrus looks at you. Like that's peak partnership there. I'm just saying.
Absolutely. Cool. We're coming up to the last 10 minutes or so. I'm just gonna slightly cool. So any main takeaways before we go into Q&A?
Sure. Best way to get involved in D&D? Play D&D.
Yeah.
Play short games. You don't need to invest your weekly 3 hours playing a tabletop fantasy game with your friends. I
Yeah, that's
totally
commitment.
understand. Yeah, I totally understand everyone's busy and, having a job that kind of takes a lot of your energy out of it, and then you need to play an intense 3 hour game. It's not ideal, but you can always play short games like one shot. So um always try to reach out to D&D community people. They will definitely like try to rope you in to try something new. Arcadia Games is a good one because they are, I haven't been, but I've seen like, how the place works. You go in, they have pre-made character sheets ready for you. You can go in and play with your friends, and once you're done, you're done. You if you like playing it, you can continue playing it on your own and things like that. So that's one way to get into it. And just a little shout out to my friend Failed Ross, who actually drew the characters
Yeah,
in our game. So you see the three, the tiefling, the tabaxi, and the owlin is basically
this
our
one.
characters.
Yeah. No, very cute. Awesome. Time check. Yeah,
Time check.
let's move on to Q&A because I think that's pretty much us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me get up the thing. All right.
Thanks for coming, everyone. That was very lovely.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. So let's blast through these questions. So John asks, do your clients ever ask you to make sure your tracks are loopable, or do they loop it in post unless they're a live game?
I have to answer this like that. There's a few chapters to answer this question. Yes, it
Yeah.
has to be loopable in a lot of situations, especially like Hyrule D&D, they record themselves live. Occasionally
Mm.
pre-recorded if they are busy, but they're usually doing a live game. So it has to kind of loop seamlessly. And what they do is they have a sound guy to kind of just help them loop the music or move on to the next piece of music. So we had situations where the music's being like, well, in the beginning of things, the music's a little bit too intense, where they had to like switch in different sorts of music. So I think it's also a balance of making sure that it's not too much, not too intense as well, that it becomes a little bit too tired on the ears. And recently with the Proto Magi music, it has been absolutely flawless with like the sound not being too heavy on their side and the audience. That's also something to think about when you're writing for D&D live games. It has to kind of loop well and
Mm.
not sounding too much, especially when it's going to be like at least an hour and a half battles.
Oh my
Battles.
gosh. Yeah.
It. I mean, I'm checking the chat. You guys can agree with me or not. Like, I think most battles take a long time, especially when you have
Right.
6 people playing in one
Gosh.
game.
Yeah. Do you ever sorry, going on from that question, is there, if you're doing a live session, is there like live mixing going on with like, okay, we'll play the loop and then we'll play like, I don't know, the drums that coincides with that loop, so you do a bit of live mixing. Is that ever a thing?
That's no, not for Hyrule,
Mm.
because
Oh, Oh no, Jolene, we lost you.
Uh,
Oh, you're back.
no, no, we're good. It should be good. Sorry about that. So basically, for high rollers, the music's is not is already pre-mixed. It's already done. It's already
Mm,
packaged. We try not to. Well, at least I try not to mess with the mix while this is going on. What I do like send them, however, is different versions of the battle music where like okay, one version is without the drums, one
mm,
version without the choir, and then when they want to like play at least 2 hours of fight boss battle music, they have a few versions to kind of like leap towards where it's not too intense or high intensity, things like that, or maybe just like especially the exploration part where they were exploring the Proto Magi vault, which is part of the story. They had to kind of like have different versions of the music
mm.
because they are exploring like from a very like um low sort of enemy spawn area into like a okay, this is a little bit dangerous sort of thing. So I had to like produce a few versions of it, but that's how we kind of like make it work in different scenarios.
Got it. So basically, create multiple assets with different variations.
Yeah, basically like how video game works, I
Yeah,
would say.
awesome. Marcus answered. Let's move on to the next question. So spotlight. So maybe tricky, but have the clients ever asked for music to underscore any dialogue-heavy scenes with the NPCs or among the players themselves? If so, what would be the approach as the unpredictable nature of tabletop RPGs is ever present?
There has been situations where like especially I started composing for Hyrule during the last part of campaign 2 where it gets a little bit heavy because it's they're fighting the big boss. Characters might die, and I think like yeah, we had like dialogue heavy scenes everywhere, and the music was supposed to be very just underscorey sort of situation. But in this sort of scenario, I think what we were doing then, I was just based on case studies. The music was supposed to give off a spacey vibe because they are traveling through space and they don't know if they're coming back. um it's more of a dark hopelessness in the
Mm,
music, and that was what we were going for. I think like it really depends on like the situation where your characters are in. It also is tricky because like you don't know how the characters will emotionally become, but you can sort of like gauge like based on the scenario or the situation, what would they feel like, and we kind of only based on these sort of like um information to create the tracks. So I don't know if that answers your question.
yeah, that's a bit of a tricky one because from a super like a digital game example I can think of is just like, oh, you're in the middle of a quick time event, but we're waiting for the player to press the button, so you need to suspend that level of intensity for like, I don't know, forever, I guess.
Yeah,
So it
exactly.
really is a case by case thing. Yeah.
Definitely, but that's why you should always like, if you're trying to like help your DM, maybe have like different versions of the track like we were
Mm.
talking earlier, like maybe a more darker version if like the character just has decided to like, you know, I think we need to sacrifice blah blah blah, it gets dark,
Oh,
that sort of
yeah,
thing.
got it. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah.
I'll just mark it as answered and I'll bring up the next one. So, do your clients ever ask you to make sure you're... Oh no, I've already answered that. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Marcus, why is it popping up again? Oh, sorry. I didn't see the tick mark. Okay, cool. When
You
creating
get
your motives for tabletop games, how do you keep them consistent across the campaign? As DMs like to change the themes, feelings of the adventure. Can you explain the theory behind the development?
Oh wow, a theory behind the development. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna do my best to answer this one. I would say like I talked to Mark or Derek on like the themes that I wrote for them. Like I gave them like a blueprint of like, hey, these are themes 1, 2, like motifs 1, 2, and at least give them like the options to like, hey, we can come back to this, by the way, and we developed through that. So especially when we're going with boss battle fights, we always like, I think it's best we add the theme into it so that it kind of brings everything together, that sort of thing. I think having conversations with the DM and the players is always very helpful in like making sure that it's consistent. And as a composer, you also need to kind of like mention like, hey, we remember we have these themes, we should use them again, that sort of thing, because it's always good to remind them of the assets you have to kind of bring them all together. We're coming back together into video game music. There we go. We're coming back together.
Yeah. I hope that answers your question, but like I said, feel free to reach out to any of us if you
Yeah.
have additional questions, because maybe it's a little bit more nuanced, so we might need to share some examples or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if you need like a more detailed answer, you can always reach out. It's just the thing is like it's so depending on how the
Yeah.
DM feels and what the DM wants in the end. Well, also what the player wants as well. So there's a lot of conversations to be had when you're composing this. So you're not just dealing with one director, you're dealing with everyone
Oh
to
gosh.
kind of bring the story together. It's important.
Got it. Awesome. So here's another one. Was there a moment when you made an epic track, but customer asked to calm it down a bit? Sometimes the track can be too much in terms of the grandeur. Yeah.
Um, if I recall, not much, because I think like they were very sure of like, yeah, we need something epic, but there were times where like, hey, can we do like a less epic version of this so that we can use it in this scenario?
Yeah.
That there are things like that, but otherwise I think like things like themes is supposed to be grandiose, and things like underscoring we know as composers just to like keep it a little bit low, because again I think like also for D&D music is something that to consider is they are gonna talk over every on during the music, so it has to kind of not be a little bit
Oh, too
too in your
much. Yeah.
face. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we well, I had like a scenario where I wrote something and I didn't quite like it in the end, because like, yeah, I think the players were having a hard time talking and then the music had to be lowered.
Right.
So it was a very good situation for me to realize that, hey, when you're not writing a theme, you gotta like make sure that it's not like too over, otherwise the players can't talk properly. And there's like certain things like the voice being at a certain level, not level, like is it decibels? What's the term again? Basically, you don't want to clash it with your instruments, and there are so many things that you need to think about, because they are gonna talk, and that's where the role playing comes. And you need to heighten scenarios and vibes, but you also need to make sure that it doesn't overshadow the story, because that's the most important part.
Got it. So this is where the variations of the track will be really useful here. Just like, oh, it's a bit too big. Let's just swap it to the milder, spicy flavor one. I don't know. Yeah.
Basically
Awesome.
that, like different versions of it, and then hey, you ended up with like 10 versions of one thing.
And then you can make an album out of it.
Exactly, there we go.
Nice. We have two more questions. Let's speed
Yeah.
through because we are running over a little bit over time. So, yeah, when you apply to these jobs, where was your portfolio located? Is a matter if it is on YouTube or something like SoundCloud.
I think like I try to like spread it out into different like websites, or maybe Real Crafter, for example. I currently use Real Crafter. In the past I use SoundCloud and YouTube. At the moment I'm trying to get it to Spotify. I'm trying to put my music into like Apple Music, Spotify, make it more accessible for everyone. I think accessibility is the most important key, especially when players are starting to get to know your music. They would try to play it during their games, and the best way is to make it easy for them to kind of access it through YouTube, just so that they can play, like, for example, those like D&D YouTube videos where it's like 3 hours of tavern music, things like that. That's always a very good way to kind of like get people to know your music, and sometimes like that's where people get to know those very famous like Two Steps from Hell, that sort of thing. Some people
Yeah.
use it during like their campaign fights. That's always a good way to put your music. So yeah, try to put it as many places as possible just to make it accessible. The accessibility is the most important thing.
Yeah, I would probably be the same person where if I'm like DM, the first place I would go is either Spotify and YouTube and create like a private playlist and go from there.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Exactly.
nice. And then
Last
lastly,
question.
yes, here we go. Let's go. Are there ways or techniques in which you use to create audio cues for specific events, like boss fights or character moments that help guide the DM or players?
Ooh, that's a good question actually. Yeah, actually I do try to create like certain audio cues, well, instrumental cues in this case, and like for the Proto Magi music, during the exploration part, I did not put any choir in one version, and when it gets a little bit more intense, the choir comes in just to kind of like create a very spooky vibe, and it kind of just uh rotates around the room. I made it so that when it goes when the mix comes in, the choir actually circulates around you and things like that. Those are very
Wow.
special audio cues that you should do, and depending on the scenario, again, depends on the scenario, and like always have conversations with your DM and players, just like, hey, boss fight, I'm adding electric guitar, and that's the only time I added an electric guitar. That's which is what you heard earlier. That was the only time I added the electric guitar. Like things like that, conversation, just giving the DM some ideas, like I would do this specifics music composition orchestration thing in this scenario. Just keep in mind I will write a special name for it, like boss fight or things like that. So yeah, the Proto Magi boss fight was the actual name of that theme. Very unoriginal, I know. I need to figure out another name for that. But yeah, basically having different versions, writing out them. Yeah, that sort of thing. I think like play around with like instrumentation, orchestration. That's always a very good way to make things a little bit more specific for certain events, like what you mentioned. I hope that helps.
Awesome. I think that's all of the Q&A. Yep, they're all green and ticked.
Yay.
Awesome.
I hope it answers
We can
everyone's
wrap it
questions.
up.
I'm just worried. I'm just worried I didn't.
No, thank you so much. That was really enlightening, and it's actually making like me really excited about composing for D&D as a potential other, I guess, industry that I can probably tap into as well as a composer.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's always a fun way to try out different things, and what better way to practice is to write for your own
That's
game.
true. That's true. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Shout out to Greg and Lewis for putting together Air Wiggles. It's been super duper fun, and there's so much content and knowledge for sharing here. So, yeah, thank you all so much. I hope you all have a great day. And yeah, again, feel free to reach out to us for any questions, and yeah, enjoy. Any
And
other
thank you for
last,
coming.
final words? Thank you. Yeah. Quick
May
read on
your
the
rolls be
chat.
ever in your favor, everyone, because we damn need it.
We'll give a few seconds for people to type. There might be a bit of a lag.
Yes. Thank you all for coming. Lovely to see all of you here. Thank you for coming. Like
Yeah.
and thank you, Jade, for hosting this. Like
Oh,
Jade
no
has been a
worries.
wonderful host. Like, love to do this again in the future if everyone wants to hear
Yeah.
about D&D and nerd out, because we all nerds here, aren't we?
We are. We love it. Yay. Oh, that's a sweet comment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very sweet. Also an invitation to you, Jade. Feel free to join my Bard only campaign. I run a Bard only campaign, and
We'll
it has been the most chaotic thing ever, because I just
Yeah.
realized some people in my friendship circle are just unhinged.
I think we are all unhinged, actually. Especially if we worked in the creative industry, we need to be slightly unhinged.
Yeah, it's a de-stressor. I mean, like, I love it. I mean, people just are creative in certain areas and aspects, and I'm just not gonna judge.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Awesome. Yeah.
Bard only is fun.
Yeah. Contact Jolene. We'll figure something out.
Yep.
Right. I am going to end the stream. So thank you once again. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a lovely day. Enjoy the next talk with the Wiggles team. They are fantastic.
Yeah. Thanks all. Bye.
Bye.